It's 100% entertainment, 100% electricity, 100%.
Pipebomb Radio with your host, Felix Olmedo.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
And Austin James.
That's the bottom line. The Stone Cold Stone.
Welcome everybody to Pipebomb Radio tonight. It is Tuesday night, and we are here for a double feature for tonight. I'm joined always I'm joined as always by Austin, and in this case, we're joined again by our good buddy Nate, and we thank you for I don't know why I'm saying I'm rambling. Welcome, guys. I don't know where I'm at today. I'm kind of gone.
And no, you mentioned something wrong, Felix. Nate is not a good buddy. Nate is officially, a host of the show, the third man at Pipebomb Radio. Wait, hello, I'm still on here? I don't know what's going on. Nobody's speaking up.
Sorry about that. I had a brief interruption here. I apologize for stepping away for just a second. It's a split second at that.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying, you mentioned Nate is our good buddy, which he is, but he's officially the third man of Pipebomb Radio. One of the best hosts I know, and truly I respect him a lot.
No, you know what, and that's my mistake, and I apologize for that. So with that, I will introduce us again.
Man, whose side am I on?
Uh-oh. Well, I'll say this. Welcome, everybody, to Pipebomb Radio with your hosts, Felix, Austin, and Nate.
There you go.
And
Felix, you need to get better
before we bring on our guest,
team.
as she is actually on the line right now, not at the moment, but I will bring her on here, we are in for a treat tonight. Those of you guys who watched the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling in the 1980s, remember a lot of colorful stars back then. Back then, it was all about the hair and about the color, and just some badass women. Let me just say that. We have the legendary Little Egypt joining us tonight.
And another thing.
And that's not all, folks.
Yeah, 30 years of WrestleMania. That's a big deal. 30 years WrestleMania. We're celebrating this year, but more importantly, the book, 30 Years WrestleMania. Brian Shields, the author of this book, that's coming out on September 15th across the nation on all your digital platform machines and the shelves, hopefully, if they're smart enough to put it there, because I know everything is digital now. And it's going to be amazing. Brian Shields wrote the encyclopedias for WWE alongside the legendary Kevin Sullivan, so I can always speak with him.
All right, and without any further ado, our first guest is ready to come on. The legendary Little Egypt, how are you today, ma'am?
Really good. Is this Felix?
It is Felix. You're joined, of course, with my co-host Austin and Nate. We welcome you. It's an honor to speak with you, ma'am. I will call you. Would you prefer I call you Little Egypt or Angelina?
No, a Little Egypt's great. Thank you so much. Hi, Austin. Hi, Nate.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
It is definitely. I enjoyed your show you did with Steve Austin, and since then, it's just been a priority for me to get you on mine. I enjoyed it that much.
Oh, awesome.
But I will start things off, and I wanted to get your impression of what it was like to be a part of something that had such a cult following. I mean, what was it for you? What did it mean to you to be a part of something like this? I mean, did you even think it would get as big as it's gotten, or it has gotten, I should say?
That's a really good question, Felix. Thank you for asking it. At the time when you're in it, you're not thinking about anything except for the next show, your next matches, and just trying to stay in one piece, so that you can get to the next week. So that was what was going on through my head. And when we lost contact with each other, when the show went off the air in the late, we started 86, so around 89, I think the show went off the air, we had to put it behind us. If you can imagine yourself, Felix, loving something and then losing contact with, some of your closest friends at that time. And it becomes like post-traumatic stress disorder sets in, you know, because you have no one to share this with. Like, you can't just call up a friend and try and explain what you've been doing, you know, in the ring and the camaraderie you had with women. It's just impossible. So it's very lonely. And that's how it was like for all of us over the last 20 years until we reunited thanks to the documentary called Glow, the story of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling that does air on Netflix in the U.S. and Canada. Did any of you gentlemen, have you had the chance to see that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I saw it and I loved
it.
Absolutely.
Loved it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad to hear that.
And you know, another thing, you guys reunited also the Netflix documentary, but you're also reuniting just in a couple of months, I believe, for the Afterglow party in Los Angeles, which is actually, they ran a Kickstarter for it, or no, I don't know if it was a Kickstarter, I believe it was something to that effect, but I mean, they raised something like Kickstarter or whatever, and it's going to be taking place in Los Angeles. I'm not sure about the date, but you guys are reuniting once again.
Yes. You know what? I am so glad. Was that Nate that said that? Nate, I'm so glad you asked that question because we did run a Kickstarter campaign. It was spearheaded by Roxy Astor. It was her brainchild. It's called the Afterglow Party. It picks up where Glow left off. It's the first ever question and answer show we've ever done. It's going to take place on October 25th in Hollywood at the Acme Comedy Theater. I'll say that again for those of you who are listening. October 25th, Acme Comedy Theater in Hollywood. Today was the first day we announced ticket sales. We're almost halfway sold out. So cost of the ticket, I know, right? The cost for the tickets are $25. If we don't sell out, the tickets at the door will be $30. It's a small theater. It's going to be a very intimate setting. It's a chance for the Glow Girls to get to know the fan base and to interact with the fan base, which is something that doesn't happen for us often. And I will tell you right now, there's going to be a large Glow Girl turnout, so it's a great chance to connect with all of them. You guys need to figure out how to get there. It's really. We don't know if we're ever going to have another one. We were very fortunate, thanks to Roxy, that we had this successful Kickstarter campaign and that all the girls get to participate now because of Roxy, and we're so thankful for her for that. But we're not sure if we're going to have another one. So if you enjoy that nostalgia, if you want to connect with the Glow Girls, figure out how to get to Hollywood on October 25th. Buy your tickets in advance. They just went on sale today.
Feel it? Now you mentioned get out there. You live an hour away from there.
Yes, well, in my case, I'm in Southern California, just like Little Egypt, and I think I might have to check that out.
Put it in your book. You should bring your little
I
radio show
should,
with you
and I will.
Try and do interviews. Yeah, I mean, think about what you can accomplish in just a few hours. You can catalog hours and hours probably of some amazing Glow Girl footage. Also, I want to tell those listeners out there that if they are looking to purchase their tickets and follow Roxy Astor on Facebook, I just saw today she is doing several promotions that include the Afterglow DVD, T-shirts with the purchase of tickets. So jump on that. She's giving away a lot of stuff. So it's going to be a real fun. She really wanted to celebrate this for the fans. This is a fan party. You know, we're so excited to engage with the fan base. But Roxy's doing this for you guys, so take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Well, you mentioned the fans, and you mentioned the Kickstarter and the crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. Were you guys surprised at just the outpouring of love and support from the fans? That, you know, this is a show that was on in the 80s, and you still have diehard fans to this day.
You know what? There have been 2 Kickstarter campaigns that revolved around Glow. The first one was for the Glow documentary, where we raised over $35,000 to finish the DVD. Yeah, we had to buy like music rights and kind of finish the final editing, and we were running short, so we ran a Kickstarter campaign, and that was, oh my, what a blessing that the fans cared enough about seeing that DVD get released. And then with the Afterglow party, that just came as a huge surprise because, we know that our fans like connecting with us on Facebook and Twitter, and they like to engage with us through social media, but to actually have them participate in the Kickstarter and to participate in this event just blows my mind. So I'm really excited, so blessed that I get to participate. Yeah, it's really amazing.
I wanted to ask if you thought, at the success of what Glow was during the 80s, do you ever think there could be a revival of it, and would you guys ever be interested in bringing it back in some form or fashion? I mean, do you think it could work, I guess is my main question.
Well, great question, and that question's asked to me time and time again, and I've pondered it, and I've thought about it, because there have been attempts to revive Glow in some fashion or another, either as a copycat or using the talent from the 80s, like with Matt Simper, who directed Glow, came out with Femme de Action, which was a spoof on reality using the Glow girls as judges and trainers in a wrestling environment. And that's not really going anywhere at this point. Maybe it will eventually, but a pilot was shot and it didn't get picked up. Another time there was Wrestlelicious, which was a really nice copycat as far as Glow was concerned, with Johnny Caparella being the producer on that. And Steve Blantz, who was the writer for Glow, was also involved in Wrestlelicious. So it really had, the flavor of Glow. And so when I get asked that question, I think, why does sometimes promotions and products like that don't have the same legs? And I think that, and this is just my personal opinion, but I think it's because when you are so unique, right? When you have something that's so far from normal, like when Glow came out, it was sports entertainment before sports entertainment ever existed. We pushed the envelope of kayfabe, right? I mean, we were out there, and we were like a reality show before reality shows even existed. With when we were doing our Glow House project, when we were doing skits and the hee-haw and all that craziness that was going on with Glow set a standard. So now Glow's a benchmark, right? So now you have Glow as this benchmark, in female history. And then everything else that shifts from there, Glow is used as a benchmark. And so I think what you have to do is you have to come up with something absolutely different. Glow, I mean, okay, let me ask you this. I mean, I'm just throwing this at you, Felix. I mean, you can't remake Gilligan's Island, right? You can't have, another Skipper, another Gilligan, another Marianne, another Ginger. No one would watch it because Gilligan's Island was, Gilligan's Island, and it set it was a benchmark for that type of a show. And so that's why I think that's just my own personal thought with Glow, and I get to be a part of that history, and I want to share it, and I want to be a part of something different, but it's not happening, or it's not, the audience isn't buying it. So until then.
Understood.
Go
ahead.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, being a part of something like Glow in the 80s, did you actually, beforehand, did you ever see yourself becoming a professional wrestler when you were like a child, or a teenager? Did you see that in your future?
No, actually I didn't. I was only 19 years old when Mount Fiji came into a T-shirt store that I was working at to get a T-shirt made. And she just was the most amazing person I've ever met. She was so charismatic and 350 pounds of charisma. Now, it was just blew my mind, and I just couldn't stop talking to her. And she had said that I should come down and audition, and I just could not, fathom getting in a ring with someone like Mount Fiji. I was no way am I ever going to do that. But then she convinced me, she was like, you don't understand. We have small girls. My tag team partner is your size. You need to come down, talk to David McLean. And, still didn't know much about wrestling. I mean, I knew about Hulk Hogan, and I loved the characters of the WWF back then, but it never aspired to be a professional wrestler. My mind just didn't wrap around that. And then when I got there, and here's the crazy part about Little Egypt is that when I started my training, 2 weeks later, I was in my first match on television with Entertainment Tonight filming a segment and all going down, and I could barely wrestle. I think I could do some stomps and some headbutts. It was chainsaw and spike, thank God. So it was crazy that I was thrown into something like that, and probably one of the only video testimonies of character development in wrestling history, because you don't really see people just thrown into a ring and have to develop a character in front of an audience on television week after week, and that was my legacy.
Okay. And what was your experience working with Mondo, with Mondo Guerrero? I believe he worked with you ladies as well?
He worked with the Glow Girls in L.A. for the original casting. So the girls that came over from L.A., like Tina Ferrari, who went on to be Ivory in the WWE, also Hollywood, Vine, Chainsaw Spike, Fiji, Americana, Royal Hawaiian, mostly the entire season 1 cast came from Los Angeles, and they were trained by Mondo. What happened was somewhere along the line, Debbie Debutante, who also is known as the Killer Tomato, picked up the training for the girls in Vegas. So she continued the training because she was also, at this point, she had already wrestled Sherry Martel, and she was in the ring with Moolah and Mae Young. And, she was bringing a lot of credibility into our ring, and what that demonstrated for the girls was that we could actually now physically do the moves with Debbie. I mean, we were actually physically working with her. She was taking bumps for us, and we were able to, work with her in the ring and do moves with her. So that was a nice transition. I don't know why Mondo would have to tell you why it never went further than L.A., but the training after Debbie Debutante left, Attaché, Americana, Royal Hawaiian, and Nuchka, Debbie Debutante, I think earlier I said Debbie Debutante, it was Debbie Dallas, the Killer Tomato. If I said Debbie Debutante, I apologize. Debbie Dallas, the Killer Tomato, was the next trainer, and then it went on and on and on. It was a trickle-down effect. But the moves and what we studied all came from Mondo. So it was, I believe, even though Mondo never laid hands on me, I honestly believed that the three-quarter rolls, the way that we were trained, the way that we took bumps, slapping out, chin to the chest, all that wouldn't have happened if Mondo didn't lay the foundation. So kudos to Mondo, and he absolutely, in my mind, gets all the credit for that.
No.
Go ahead, Nate.
Okay, what would you say was probably the most challenging part of being a Glow Girl? Was it the wrestling? Was it the acting? Was it dealing with the fame? Or was it the rapping?
The most challenging part was going on behind the scenes. I will tell you that, and that is hard to explain because you have to imagine a cast of each season. We had over 30 girls. Okay, so put your mind around being in a cast of women, some of them with different objections. They're trying to accomplish different things. I myself learned really quick to keep my head down, don't start trouble, and I learned real quick, too, that there was no way Little Egypt was ever going to wear a glow crown. You knew you knew where the writing was going, and some girls, if they didn't like the way the writing was going, tried to manipulate that through, whatever politics that they were doing. So it was really hard to watch kind of the politics because I didn't like that because I wasn't playing that. And so I kind of felt I rode in the back seat a lot of times, but that was the most challenging part. The most fun that we had was on film day, when the adrenaline was there, when the audience was there, when the kids were lined up ready for their autograph, people were queued up and couldn't get a seat, and they had married our characters and they were invested in our characters, and they were diehards. They weren't just diehard Glow fans, they were diehard wrestling fans, they were merciless. So we wanted to impress them. You know, when we were in the ring, we cared about what they were feeling. We cared about when we were, if we were booed, it really bothered us, you know, so we wanted to fix that. We wanted, you know, everyone wanted to turn the audience over. So that was, in a nutshell, what I thought were the pros and cons of Glow.
Now, you've probably been asked this thousands of times, but I'm going to ask it 1,001. Who came up with the name Little Egypt?
Okay, so the Little Egypt character was something that Steve Blance, who was our lead writer, and Matt Stimber, who was our director for 4 years, they were looking for a girl to fit the Little Egypt character. So they wanted a girl to come out belly dancing, and there was a girl that was cast as Little Egypt, but she never made it on television. She actually went to dance professionally on tour with Michael Jackson. So she must have been a hell of a dancer. I'm just like, can only imagine how good she could have been. But when I was coming through my training and Steve saw me in the ring, he went to Matt Simber and he said, "We've got our Little Egypt." And then they just basically told me, "Here's who we think you would be great at, and this is why you should, you know, think about doing this character. It's perfect for you, and you can make it work." And so they sold me on it, and, you know, I got invested in it. And now I can't see myself being anything other than Little Egypt, so I feel blessed, because that was a great character, and you don't see a lot of belly dancing wrestlers. So, yay.
Now, in my case, I do have a question asking, if fans want to keep up with what you're doing, where you're going as far as the Glow Girls and what you're doing, because I know that you also take part in the Cauliflower Alley and speak with them with them. I would say, would you say every year, or would you say every couple of years? How can people keep up with you? And could you tell me a little bit about the Cauliflower Alley?
Okay, Felix. First of all, you can find me on Twitter at Little Egypt, super easy. And you can also find me on Facebook at the official page of Little Egypt. And you can also follow me on my Facebook profile. Glow is my first name, Little Egypt as my last name. And there you're going to find tons of information. On both Twitter and Facebook, I have links to all the Glow Girls that are participating in social media. So you definitely want to stop by my page first, find out who's active, and then go find and seek them out. Also, the Cauliflower Alley Club is a place where the Glow Girls reunite once a year. Next year, April 12th through the 15th is the Cauliflower Alley Club 50th anniversary. It is such a big deal. We are so darn excited. We have been continuously going to the Cauliflower Alley Club since, I can't remember, 2010 or 2011. So you will always find the Glow Girls there. That's where we connect to have our girl trip. That's like a Glow reunion for us, and we get to interact with the fan base. Yeah, and so we'll always have a table in the nostalgia room where we can meet and greet fans, and then we'll always be at the banquet cheering on our fellow wrestlers as they get inducted into the Hall of Fame. And so far, to this date, 2 of our girls have been inducted. Lisa Moretti, Tina Ferrari / Ivory was inducted as the female honorary award, and then also Debbie Dallas, who worked as the Killer Tomato, was inducted last year into the Cauliflower Alley Hall of Fame. So we're really fortunate that we've had 2 girls already go in.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so you can find information on the Cauliflower Alley Club by just going to caulifloweralleyclub.org and getting your tickets in advance, because they do expect that to sell out. And last year we had over 700 people in attendance for those things. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal.
Absolutely. I'd love to attend one of those myself. I'm looking to try to become a member myself, actually.
Well, it's all, anyone can sign up to be a member. You'll get the newsletter, and I think it's $25 a year, so it's not asking a lot to kind of stay connected and keep your toes in the water on that end. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And then I'm going to just end with this. I have started to sell T-shirts on ProWrestlingTees.com, and for any T-shirt design that uses Little Egypt that I want to reproduce, I will give the artist a T-shirt and a signed Glow DVD. So have fun with that. Like, I've got 2 designs out right now, and I'm so excited because they're amazing. There's a lot of talented people out there. So if you want to have a T-shirt, if you want to be featured on my Pro Wrestling Tees page, then send me something on Facebook. Send me the art and let me look at it. If it qualifies, I'm going to go ahead and send you a T-shirt in your size and a signed Glow DVD.
Now that is awesome.
Yay.
Yeah, I might just have to take this an offer.
I'm sorry?
Because I know I'm under the formula how to make graphic designs look beautiful. Seriously, I'm really good at that stuff, you know.
He's a graphic artist, so he might actually send you something.
Oh, my God. You know what? Do it. Take a look at some of the, there's only, I think, 4 or 5 female wrestlers on Pro Wrestling Tees. I'm trying to get some more of our girls on that site. So let's see. Please send me something. I would love to see what it looks like. Yeah, I'm excited. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I had a great time talking to you. And, again, remember, Afterglow, I'm just going to give you this one more time. Afterglow, Hollywood, the Acme Comedy Theater. Tickets are $25. We're already almost halfway sold out. Today was the first day we released tickets. Make sure you get involved in that. Also, make sure that you follow me on Twitter at Little Egypt and Facebook at the official page of Little Egypt, and I'll kind of keep you posted as we move through the year on what's going on, where the girls are, and anything new and fun in Glow and female wrestling. I try and, I try to consider myself like a source of that information. So, gentlemen, I had a great time. Thank you so much.
It was an honor, Little Egypt.
You.
We can't thank you enough for taking time to speak with us tonight.
Yay! Excited. Okay, and don't forget, send me that T-shirt design.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. You guys take care. Bye-bye.
You too now. Bye-bye. Well, that was enjoyable. Get to go back and relive a time that had some of the most outrageous costumes, outrageous makeup, outrageous hair. I mean, that was the 80s. If you think about it, I was a kid back then, but I saw what people were wearing. It was a little crazy. And Nate, I know you were around that time too, so you can relate.
Yeah,
I don't know if neither one of us had crazy hair, I don't think, so I don't know if we actually could relate, but you know what I mean.
I mean, I had the high top fade back in the day, so.
Well, I was actually there too. I was actually in the 80s until being reincarnated into a person about 15 years later with phenomenal hair. I mean, it's I swear to God, it's probably the most beautiful thing you'd ever see in your entire life. Second to a couple things that maybe Eva Marie, is that one contender? I don't know. But I mean, Glow was such a great time in wrestling, especially because they were one of the first people who ever did what they did.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you guys, I asked her what she thought. Now I'm going to ask you what you think. Do you think that that Glow could work in this generation?
It's tough. I think the concept is still solid. I was actually a big fan of Wrestlicious, but unfortunately that promotion didn't last. But I think any new promotion is going to have the same problem that the existing promotions have, and that's getting on TV and finding space. out there in the market. You know, TNA's having problems with that, and Ring of Honor, you know, they're trying to expand. So if those guys are having problems, I think, you know, something as niche, even though it'd probably be really cool, as niche as a glow-style product, you know, you'd have to have either a big-time backer or just some big-time cash in your pocket to get that started.
Yeah, nowadays nobody has the pockets that WCW had, the deep pockets of Ted Turner, so to speak, to throw money around like it was nothing. Nowadays nobody's doing that anymore. So, yeah, I can definitely agree with you on that one.
You know, and I think honestly, it has to be for growth to survive and to be reincarnated, like I said a few minutes ago, and reincarnated into something that people can watch today. They have to have fresh, you know, new talent. I'm not saying anything's wrong with the original Glow Girls or anything, but you know, having that that backup, you know, to really lead on the future, and for on routing into the future is something that is very vital to the success of the company. I mean, look what WWE is doing with NXT. Without NXT, I mean, they wouldn't have a future. They might have a future, but it wouldn't look as bright as it does now with NXT. And I know Nate and you, Felix, can attest to that.
By the way, I did get one more thank you from Little Egypt about tonight's show, and she was happy to be a part of it and talk about some great times. But we definitely want to change gears, as we will have a guest joining us in just a bit here, not very long actually. And I know Austin has been extremely excited about this guest. I'm kidding.
Well, I mean,
he really has. He really has, though.
Yeah, but there's reason to, and I know Nate feels the same way, because I know that he probably owns both WWE encyclopedias, who were written by Brian Shields alongside legendary Kevin Sullivan. And not only, we're going to talk about that, the WWE encyclopedias and stuff, we're going to be talking about the new WWE 30 Years of WrestleMania book, released on shelves and bookstore shops everywhere online on September 15th. It's going to be amazing. I mean, 30 years of WrestleMania, all the WrestleMania moments that have happened in the past that left us in amazement and astonishment, especially with me. And I know Felix, I don't know if you remember this, but remember when Brock Lesnar defeated The Undertaker at a WrestleMania to defeat the 21-1 streak? He became 21-1. Do you remember that?
Nope, can't say that I do, sorry.
I know Nate does.
It kind of rings a bell.
I know. And I guess Felix is pretty deaf. He can't even hear any bells when we talk about that one.
No comment. I choose to move on from this point because it's just an irrelevant point. So, anyways.
Well, as
far as WrestleMania moments go in my book, I mean, there's so many to choose just one. I mean, one gets thrown around like crazy would be the Iron Man match, or between Bret and Shawn, or even the match between Randy Savage and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, or how about when the Mega Powers explode? I mean, there's just so many moments. The Warrior versus Hogan at WrestleMania 6. You can't just narrow it down to one.
Tonight we're actually going to let all the fans who want to call in 1-347-202. Wait, that's 1-347-202-0399. Call in and share your favorite WrestleMania moment. And we're going to talk over
Did you forget
Brian.
what the number was to the show, Austin? I know you did, didn't you?
It's really weird, isn't it? I've been doing this for quite some time. It won't be the first time, but we're gonna let the fans have the opportunity to talk to Brian Shields and basically give him some insight on what he thinks about a certain WrestleMania moment that you might be fond of. We're gonna get all the hosts' opinions about their favorite WrestleMania moments. I know what mine is. I'm sure Felix knows what his is, and I'm really sure that Nate does as well.
Well, without any further ado, gentlemen, we are now going to be joined by Mr. Brian Shields. Mr. Shields, thank you for joining us tonight.
Guys, how are you? Thanks so much for having me on.
An honor, sir. I did hear your show on one of our partner shows, IHWE, last week, and we're just thrilled that you could come join us here on the Pipebomb Radio Network, and we're going to have some fun. I think we will.
Oh, absolutely, and I had a great time on IHWE, and definitely looking forward to our talk tonight.
And without any further ado, I'll let Austin kick off the first part of the questions here. So, Austin, fire away, youngster.
Well, I've been bringing up the same point outside the beginning of the show and stuff. That 30 years of WrestleMania, I mean, that's a big thing. With all the WrestleMania moments and things that left us like in amazement and indescribable words. I get caught up talking about it, but you are the author of the new 30 Years WrestleMania book coming out September 15th on the shelves and bookstore shops everywhere online. What does it mean to you to be the person who had the opportunity to be the author of this book?
It means everything. I have to tell you, Austin, I grew up a huge WWE fan on Long Island. I'm a kid of the 80s. I loved anything and everything professional wrestling, now known as sports entertainment. We had and thanks to cable television, we had WWE, we had Georgia Championship Wrestling, followed by Jim Crockett Promotions. We had the Von Erichs and Vern Gagne's AWA. We had Pro Wrestling This Week. And actually we also had, and you have to give a shout-out to the legendary Little Egypt, on WPIX in New York, we had the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. And that was also very, very popular at that time. So, for me to now fast forward to my professional life and to have this relationship with the WWE since the late 90s on various projects and with DK Publishing since 2009, it's another, dream come true scenario to be able to work on a book called 30 Years of WrestleMania.
Now, Brian, it's a very cool idea. It's a very cool book, and I can't wait to read it myself. And I'm sure as a fan as well as an author, you had a great time creating the book. But was there ever a point where it became work? Like, was there just one night where it's up late and you have to write about Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez where you're like, can we put this to the side for a minute?
You know what? Luckily, that hasn't happened yet. When you're working on these projects, there's such an excitement level that from start to finish, you're just going on almost like the entire time on adrenaline. And, it's one of those things where you're so focused on doing the best possible job you can that, if there were matches that maybe you weren't as interested in as a fan or maybe vice versa where, you were really interested when you were maybe a younger fan and today when you look back, maybe not so much, you're so focused on what you have to do and knowing what the expectations are that doesn't come into the mix at all.
Now, coming together for this idea, was there one particular? We'll just throw in we'll start off with the WrestleMania, 30 Years of WrestleMania. Was there one part of the book that you were, do I say excited, really excited, mark out moment? I don't know if you want to call it that, but that you were just really excited to work on, to find out information, to be able to add to the book? Was there one part of it that was one of the ones that you look forward to doing the most?
My biggest thing was getting started. I was so excited to get started, and as you guys know, and probably members of your audience will know, there were so many things going on in WWE as an organization when the first WrestleMania in 1985 premiered at Madison Square Garden that it was one of those things where we wanted to set it up a little bit for everybody. And, so when you open the book, it's remarkable. When you open the book, the first thing you're going to read is the incredible foreword by, Mr. WrestleMania himself, Shawn Michaels. And then when you get into the story, the book doesn't begin with the bell ringing and it's Tito Santana versus the Executioner, first match at WrestleMania, we actually give a little bit of a background into what was going on at the time. So for me, getting started on that was really exciting because it's like those are literally your first steps. And then, going through the WrestleManias was just incredible. So, I mean, for me, it was getting started because it was like once you took those first steps, you're off and running.
With over 240 pages of history in that book released September 15th, you've gotten many interviews. I mean, besides Shawn Michaels, that's one of many that you've gotten. Can you exclaim a little bit more, maybe just a little more insight on who you got the interview for this book?
Well, I mean, the interviews range from, the McMahon family, superstars, it's so many people were interviewed for the book. And the thing is, guys, the interviews are important not only for the quotes. I mean, the quotes are very important, but it's also to get an idea from people of just, larger context, things like what was going on in the company or between these two opponents during a certain time, or, to help the writing in a larger picture kind of a way. I mean, I remember I had a 2-part multi-hour conversation with Pat Patterson. The first week was, Linda McMahon, Basil DeVito, Howard Finkel, Pat Patterson. I mean, that's the first week in researching the book. So it was just, and that set things off, just in an incredible direction, right from there. So, I interviewed, it's probably over 75 people, when it comes down to it in terms of the book itself. So, you're going to get behind the scenes anecdotes and stories, for things that were happening in the ring, behind the scenes, behind the microphone. So, the interview list was just incredible. And the other great thing about the project, I was granted backstage access. So live events, Raw, SmackDowns, I was given the opportunity to interview people there as well, which was really just phenomenal.
What was maybe one thing or a couple things that, through talking with all these people, through doing all this research, that, as a fan, you thought you knew something, but, as an author, you said, okay, this is what really happened. This is how it really went down. Was there a couple of instances where your eyes were kind of open?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, in the beginning, was to get an idea from Linda McMahon on just how much of a financial risk it was for them to get this idea off the ground. We've all heard different interviews and have seen different things on DVDs or other specials or what have you. But for me to get such an idea, it was definitely very eye-opening. And and the other thing too that's important, I think, especially for the younger fans of today to get an idea of, is WWE didn't shut down their offices to get this WrestleMania idea off the ground. They were still running shows 6 nights a week, traveling all over the United States, because at that time they were a national company. So, those are the things that were really eye-opening to me initially. And then I even think of, some of the conversations, that I had, and hearing Randy Orton's thoughts, for instance, on, how dangerous the ladder matches really are in comparison to some other matches. And, guys, I don't want to give too much away, so I want to give an idea of who I spoke to, but, or his thoughts on the six-man match that opened WrestleMania 29. One of the things I met John Cena a few times, who was just such a great guy, and, you get the sense from him immediately that, the stuff going on between him and The Rock, it was very real to him. It was very serious, and it made me think back to Bret Hart, who, in his Wrestling with Shadows documentary years ago, said, something to the effect of how, the business becomes more real sometimes than people think. And, and I even think of Bret Hart, who I had a 4-part interview, with him. His history spans so many years with WWE. So, so many of these things just flood into my mind when I think of all the interviews that were done. So the quotes and the stories that are in the book are going to be great for fans of all ages and all types.
And as speaking from a fan's perspective, taking yourself away just for a moment as, not just the author, but just as a fan, what was your favorite WrestleMania moment? I know it's kind of hard to choose just one. If we say maybe top 3, if you want to throw that in there, you can do that. But was there ever one that kind of stood out to you as one of your favorite all time?
Oh, thank you. First off, and you may have heard this already, I am the worst at when I have to pick just one of something. I think I'm the worst person in the history of interviews. I think for me, and even writing the WrestleMania 3 entry, I was 6 years old when the first WrestleMania happened. So, this is something that I've grown up with, and, writing the WrestleMania 3 entry and that Hogan-Andre match was so monumental at the time, and it still is today, and especially for people, I think, in a certain age group, it's so important. So for me, I think as a fan, and maybe there's a little bit of sentimental value there as well, that one definitely stands out. And then, I have to tell you the first Shawn Michaels Undertaker match was just one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. So I think that definitely has to be part of it. And I thought there's so many.
Yeah.
And I think I think the John Cena Rock storyline and what was done there, I thought that was really unique because it was something that I don't know if people really thought something like that was ever going to happen or not. And it did, and it was a huge success. And it really was what they said in terms of, these guys, both former NCAA football players, in their physical prime. And, I think that was something I remember being at WrestleMania 28 and 29 and just thinking that as a moment in time that this is, just very, very special.
And what we're actually going to do, we're actually let the fans, if you have your favorite WrestleMania moment, make sure you call 1-347-202-0399 and tell Brian what's your favorite moment of WrestleMania. And I know there are many, and that's what kind of WrestleMania was built on, was the moments that made up the spectacle that it is today.
Yeah, I mean, it's so amazing what this event has become. And, you know, when you read 30 years of WrestleMania and you turn those pages, you really are, you're turning a page after page of just history. I mean, the first WrestleMania was a roll of the dice. It was on a Sunday afternoon at Madison Square Garden. And what this has evolved into is really what Michael Cole says it is, and it's the greatest event in all of entertainment. I mean, it is now a week. WrestleMania is a week of festivities. People from all over the world come to this event, and it's really, and you'll see that also. I mean, you'll see in the photos and how certain things are described. I mean, you'll see the evolution of this event, through the pages. So it's definitely something where it's a special look at WrestleMania.
Brian, one of the things that really interests me, what's going on?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. One of the things that really interests me, Brian, about your work is that a lot of times when you get somebody that's a fan of a subject and you get them to write about the subject, after they're finished with their work, they're no longer a fan of the subject because they kind of get too close to it. But you still seem to have a love for wrestling, and I just wanted to know, are you a fan of the current product?
I am. I am. I absolutely am. I mean, this is something that, you know, I've loved my whole life. You know, I've been a fan from the time I was a small child and continue to be. And I think when you're talking about any, you know, line of work, any sort of pursuit professionally, I think you have to have that love of what you're doing and that passion to continue doing it. And I think the enthusiasm of being a fan is what helps you, you know, get through these projects that are, you know, very time intensive, very labor intensive, and things like that. So absolutely, I'm still a fan. You know, I love the WWE Network. I still go to the events. You know, so yeah, absolutely.
And I was actually going to mention, we were talking some classic WrestleMania moments. We do actually have someone calling in, and I was going to ask Brian, would you be okay taking a question in regards to just taking a
sure,
question? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All righty. Hello, you're on the air with Brian Shields, author of the WrestleMania 30 Years of WrestleMania and the WWE Encyclopedia. What's your question?
Oh, hi, guys. Just wanted to call in to tell Mr. Shields about my favorite 30 years of WrestleMania moments. And I want to start by saying congratulations on your new book, Mr. Shields. Looking forward to getting that. My first favorite moments, I would say go back to 1985, which will be Hogan and Piper versus Orndorff and Orton. That was my first favorite moment. I was 2 years old around that time. And I'm going to have two more moments. And my other one was Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. And my other favorite was The Rock versus John Cena at WrestleMania 28.
And what's your name?
My name is Matt Nelson.
Hey, Matt. Well, first off, thanks so much for listening and calling in tonight. And those are great choices that you listed. Each one of those are definitely huge WrestleMania moments. And you know, when we talk about the first WrestleMania, it's one of those things that everybody involved knew that it had to be great, because there may not be, you know, the thought at the time was there may not be a WWE if this isn't a success. So, when you talk about that main event, that first main event, that helped lay the groundwork for what we see today. So, I don't know if there would be other WrestleMania main events if that one was not such a success. So those are 3 great choices.
Thank you, and I'll be getting your encyclopedia next week.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks for calling in, man.
Having me on.
Thanks for calling in.
You too. Bye.
Right. Bye-bye. Well, that was cool. We do actually have one more caller. Would you be okay with one more?
Yeah,
awesome.
if you guys, if you guys want to open the phones, that'd be great.
Great deal. Yep, we definitely have alerted callers to call in to share their favorite WrestleMania moments. We have one from area code 905. You're on with author Brian Shields of 30 Years of WrestleMania and the WWE Encyclopedia. What is your question?
You guys, I just thought I'd call in and give my WrestleMania moments.
Okay.
Actually, the first one was with WrestleMania 3's Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat match.
Nice.
And another one was when Savage won the title of WrestleMania 4.
Who are we speaking to?
What's your name?
Hey, Felix Cecilio.
I know. I just wanted you to say it.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
My name is Elio.
Hi, thanks so much for calling in, and those are those are great choices. I mean the Savage Steamboat match at WrestleMania 3 is viewed still by many as the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. It was an honor for me to be able to, speak with Ricky about that match and leading up to that match. And, I just want to tell you that for the WrestleMania 3 entry in the book, we actually have a great quote from George the Animal Steele, who was there at ringside, on how he felt the match was and what it's done for WrestleMania. WrestleMania 4, I mean, what a great event. That is definitely one of my favorite WrestleManias. From the time I was a kid, I always loved tournaments. So to have a tournament for the WWE Championship was amazing, and I was a huge Randy Savage fan, so obviously I was very happy about what happened there. So, yeah, great choices. Thanks for calling in.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Helio.
And, my favorite WrestleMania moment, and I have to agree with Brian, and I say it numerous rounds of times, people ask me the same question. It's Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker from WrestleMania 25. I'm not saying that to put a fight against 26 because both of them were absolutely phenomenal on every single level possible. But WrestleMania 25 was just, when you describe the word magical with the professional wrestling, people who are listening to this, I assume are professional wrestling fans, know that there's something in the air when Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker wrestle, one-on-one, and especially in a stage like WrestleMania 25, there was something between those two that night that just, I don't know, there was something special going on in that squared circle that night. That's it's I don't have any words for it, but I know it's one that's always going to be near and dear to my heart as a testimony on why I love professional wrestling as much as I do.
And how about you, Nate? What are your favorite WrestleMania moments?
I think I'll echo Elio in terms of probably my favorite match of any of the WrestleManias was Steamboat and Savage, just because I was a WCW or NWA fan, I guess, back in the day, and it was very rare that you got a match that was just that great bell to bell in the WWE, and I loved Steamboat and Savage. My other one is kind of fun. It's kind of funny because it's on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's two guys who weren't the best workers, quote unquote, but it was a great match, and it's one that I always remember, and that was when you had Hogan and Warrior, and just the spectacle of the event, and it was probably my favorite Warrior match of all time, and so those are probably my two favorite matches for different reasons.
Oh yeah, I mean the Hogan Warrior match was just awesome. I mean that build up with them first going nose to nose at the Royal Rumble. I mean that was so unique at the time. I mean you didn't see that back then. You didn't see that in WWE, especially the two good guys having a match. It was very, very rare. So yeah, WrestleMania 6 was just awesome.
As for me, well, I have to go back to one that still is one of my all-time favorites for a lot of reasons, and that being the match at WrestleMania 7 between the Ultimate Warrior and Randy Savage. That one definitely was one of my favorites just because it had everything in it. And it was a conclusion of such a great story, and the reuniting of Randy and Elizabeth, and just everything all in one. I mean, the crowd was into it. It was just a great overall match. If I chose a secondary, well, I could say I can echo what Austin had said with Undertaker Shawn, or even go one further and say Shawn and Ric Flair at WrestleMania 24, because I was there for both shows, but I also felt the emotion in the crowd in Orlando when Ric Flair had retired at that time. And also with the electricity of just how exhausted everybody felt with the ups and downs of the back and forth between Shawn and Undertaker. Those would have to be maybe some of my top three, not necessarily in a particular order, but yeah, three definitely ones that stood out to me.
I mean, that Flair Michaels match. I think everybody knew it was going to be good, but I don't think people knew it was going to be that good. I mean, I remember being in the seats, and I mean, people were just beside themselves. And that emotional ending was, I mean, these are all amazing historical moments that we're talking about. Each one is just better than the next.
And you mentioned these moments, especially from WrestleMania 30, the unforgettable moment. I think that maybe goes down as the biggest moment in WrestleMania history in some people's opinion, when Brock Lesnar defeated the Undertaker streak. Something that, I mean, the streak is probably an entire chapter in itself within that 30 years WrestleMania book.
There's a part of me as a fan that's still in shock that the streak has been broken. It was something that I always wanted to see just be preserved, and if it was going to grow, great, but I never really wanted to see it come to an end. And the shock, the shock of everybody in the building, I mean, you could tell it was just something that people will never ever forget.
Bet on that. I'm glad I wasn't in the arena that night. Probably would have went home early.
Yeah.
And I actually was in the arena that night, and I can tell you that being a part of that crowd when, you always expect him to kick out the last second, and no matter how much pain or how much just whatever he was put through in a given match, he always kicked out, and he eventually won. And then the referee puts his hands down for the 3 count, and you're like, what just happened? It's almost like people literally lost their breath because they were expecting to go like, oh my God, that's crazy. I remember it was the quietest moment of the show. People were crying, but besides me, it was so freaking. I can't even describe the aura at that time. It changed instantly.
Yeah, and I think, guys, I think one of the things also is that when I've heard over the years people describe what it was like at Madison Square Garden when Bruno Sammartino lost the WWF Championship, as it was known at the time, to Ivan Koloff. It's described in the same way, as there's just silence, and people almost didn't know what to do. And I think for people, in 2014 to still have that genuine sense of disbelief is just incredible, as far as the storytelling that was going on, and how much these individuals and their characters, mean to the fans.
Now, Brian, I got a random question for you. You may or may not have the answer, but it's something that's always kind of, I'm not going to say it's bugged me, but I've always found it odd about WrestleMania 1. I'm a big fan of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and for those that don't know, Philip Bailey was a member of Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yes,
and the wrestling connection comes in when the very first note you hear for WrestleMania 1 while you're hearing Vince McMahon run down the card is Philip Bailey and Phil Collins' Easy Lover. Was that just a random thing, or was it, what's the connection for that? Did you ever hear anybody talk about that when you were doing research for the book?
First of all, it's awesome that you know that, because you're one of the few people. And by the way, I love that song, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. Phil Collins is incredible. Philip Bailey is incredible. Earth, Wind, and Fire, incredible all around. If you look back at the WWE big events during those days, WrestleMania, and even like some of the early Saturday night main events, they were using, top 40, very popular songs to lead into the shows. So I don't know if there was any connection necessarily with Philip Bailey or Phil Collins and WWE. It may have just been a song that someone really liked how it sounded, and because it was so popular at the time, it was used, to lead into WrestleMania. But it's very cool that you remember that.
I could just picture Vince looking at the production team, get me Easy Lover. Right. That's what I want.
I can't imagine Phil Collins at WrestleMania. Can't imagine it.
That's awesome.
I want to ask, Brian, if fans want to keep up with what you're doing and information about the book, or just anything in general that you feel like talking about, keeping up with you, how can they keep in contact with you through social media?
I'm on social media. On Twitter, the handle is @It'sBrianShields, and I talk about wrestling, old school wrestling, new wrestling, WWE, other work I do in video gaming, other writing I do. So @It'sBrianShields on Twitter. I'm on Facebook as well, Brian Shields, and those are the two best ways with me right now to keep in touch with me. And 30 Years of WrestleMania comes out September 15th, so there's going to be a lot of stuff I'm going to be doing, talking about different parts of the book, and we're going to be doing some contest giveaways, and I'll be on Instagram soon as well at the same handle. It's Brian Shields. So yeah, if those are the best ways to be connected.
One last question, and I know this will be it for me, and probably the rest of the guys too. Was there, in all the interviews that you've had to do, and you mentioned that you'd had to do a lot, was there one that was more intimidating to do than the other? Were you like kind of, oh my, I'm going to be talking to this person? Wonder how that's going to go.
Well, it's interesting because when you're talking about sitting down with like Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, the McMahon family, Triple H, or you're on the phone, with Bret Hart or Kevin Nash or Roddy Piper, or you're backstage and you're speaking with John Cena or Randy Orton or The Big Show or Kane, it's like each one is, it's not so much intimidating, it's more like you just want this to go really well for more reasons than you can count, probably. I was even thinking back, because, guys, there are celebrities quoted in the book as well. Joan Rivers, Mike Tyson, Larry King, Donald Trump, Daryl DMC McDaniels from Run DMC. So, doing all of these kinds of things, it's really, that you get butterflies in your stomach a little bit before each one. Even people that, some of the names that I mentioned, I've worked with for years, and I've known for a long time, and it didn't, it just, you still get, butterflies a little bit because you want it to go really well, you want it to be a great conversation, and the project that you're doing this for is incredibly important. So there wasn't one that really stuck out in terms of like, it was just butterflies all around. I will say this, as someone that's, an adult and about 6'2", it was very humbling meeting the Big Show. There's a point where your hand and wrist and just kind of like disappears, and that kind of is, he couldn't have been, very nice guy, and also someone that with all his years in the business was a great person to talk to, but that might have been the one where I was just like, okay, I just want this to be like the best thing he's ever been a part of, because I want to walk out of here.
Hey Brian, I hate to throw one more curveball at you. I do have one more caller calling in. Would you mind if you're hearing one?
I'll stay on with you as long as you like. We're having a great conversation, and I'm more than happy to be here.
All right. Well, caller is from area code 818. You're on with the author of 30 Years of WrestleMania and the WWE Encyclopedia. What is your question?
How you doing, Felix? My name's Frank. I've been a long-time listener. I'm mad at myself right now because I missed half of Brian's interview. I set my alarm for a later time, and I'm so embarrassed. And I was reading about Brian online, and wow, it's just a great honor to be on the show with him. And not necessarily a question, but I don't know if you might have covered this, because in my personal opinion, WrestleMania 19 is, right in my eyes, the greatest WrestleMania of all time. It was so star-packed. You had Hogan versus, McMahon. You had Stone Cold versus The Rock, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. Where would Brian rank that at?
Frank, thanks so much for calling in. It's great talking to you tonight. And, guys, your callers don't disappoint. WrestleMania 19, WrestleMania 19 is definitely another great event. Safeco Field, over 50,000 plus. And, that was definitely, another great WrestleMania. At that point, this is the third WrestleMania in a row that's in a stadium or dome type setting, if you will. And, from start to finish, that was a great WrestleMania. So I definitely rank it. It's definitely up there. That Shawn Michaels Chris Jericho match is special beyond words. That was just a great contest between those two. Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle. Vince McMahon, Hulk Hogan, I think is one of those where, I don't think people ever really thought that was ever going to happen. I mean, when Hulk Hogan left WWE in 1993, the WWE was a very different company. Vince McMahon was widely just known as the announcer. I mean, unless you really followed the business or you worked with WWE, most people just thought of him as the announcer. So, for things to evolve and, 10 years later, and he's now in the ring against Hulk Hogan, I think that was a surprise. And, guys, WrestleMania 19 is also a big deal because, that was the third WrestleMania where The Rock and Stone Cold had a main event marquee match. And, I don't know if we'll ever see something like that. Rock and Cena main evented 2 WrestleManias against one another. Bret Hart and Yokozuna headlined 2 WrestleManias against one another. But to do it at 3 different WrestleManias, one-on-one matches, that's incredibly special. So, yeah, definitely, Frank, WrestleMania 19, another great show.
I have another question for you, Brian, if you don't mind me asking.
Sure.
Okay, do you ever get caught up, I know that, it's a business to you and you've probably seen everything. Do you ever get caught up in the moment, for example, WrestleMania, I think it was 21, when Eugene came out, and did you know Hogan was going to come out? Did you have a feeling that Hogan was going to come out and save Eugene? Because I was actually at that WrestleMania, and I felt it was a pop like none other. I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. Did you see that coming?
That's another great question, Frank. I didn't see it coming. I was hoping, especially with the ovation that he got at the Hall of Fame the night before. I think that was an 8-minute. I don't know what the exact time was, but I mean it was a extended standing ovation at the Hall of Fame the night before, and so I was hoping, I was watching it here in New York, and I was hoping that there would be something the next day, because Roddy Piper was doing his pit with Austin. I wasn't sure what exactly it was going to be, because at first right. I was thinking, well, if there's going to be a surprise and it's Piper, Hogan, and Austin, that's going to be pretty insane. But I think the way that it was done was perfect. The fans loved it, and we give a little shout out to that in the book when you look at the WrestleMania 21 entry. So I hope you enjoy it.
Well, of course, I'm going to pick up the book as soon as Is it available now? I was reading on the website. I had a little confusion on it.
Oh, no problem. 30 Years of WrestleMania, you can pre-order it now. It's available for pre-order. Okay. You can pre-order it now where books are sold, and then it's coming out. It's coming out Monday, September 15th. So we're under 7 days away from the book being available.
I think what I'm going to do is tonight, after I'm done with this phone call, I'm going to get on and pre-order it myself.
Oh, cool, man. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm going to pre-order I actually have one more, Brian. I apologize. Like I said, I set my alarm. I don't know if you covered it, but I've watched every WrestleMania, and do you think, in your personal, because I remember it was WrestleMania, I forgot what number it was, The Rock hosted, and then when him and Austin faced off in the back, he got a large pop. And then this year, when Hogan was in the ring, Austin came out and he got a large pop also. In your personal opinion, do you think we haven't seen the last of Austin for WrestleMania?
I hope not. I don't. I mean, one of the things, guys, I don't have any inside, info, so anything that I say is always just, my opinion.
Right. Of course.
I hope, just as a fan, I hope it's not the last that we've seen, whether it's, him, being a host, or, kicking things off with a special address to the crowd, or, I think Stone Cold Steve Austin is one of those personalities where, I mean, he's, the biggest icon, the business has ever known, WWE has ever known. Depending on who you speak to, if it's not him, it's Hogan, and he's right underneath, so, but Stone Cold Steve Austin has done things that no one else has ever achieved. So
right.
I think him being a part of WrestleMania in any way is a plus. We've seen him be on Piper's Pit. We've seen him be a special guest referee. We've seen him, win the WWE title. So we've seen him really do it all. So I hope that we see him again down the road for sure. And, he gets, the reaction that he continues to get, even when you're in the arena and they're playing the video loop, he still gets a thunderous reaction from the crowd, and deservedly so.
Awesome,
Absolutely.
Brian. Thank you so much, Brian, for answering all my questions, and I'm going to keep listening to the show, and Brian, I will pre-order that as soon as we're done with the show, as soon as I'm done listening to the show.
Oh, cool, man. Listen, Frank, it was great talking to you. Thanks for the questions. They were awesome, and thanks for pre-ordering the book and all the support, and I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, Brian. I'm sure I will. Thank you.
Cool, man.
Thank you for calling in, Frank.
No problem, Felix. All right, bye.
Bye. Wow, 3 great questions from 3 different great call-ins, and what a great conversation. A lot of great moments to talk about. You can't really just pick one, and so many great moments thrown out there. I know we can't thank you enough for coming on tonight, Brian. It's been a great honor and a pleasure, and I know I can speak for Austin. I can probably speak for Nate, and as soon as I get the opportunity, I will be as well purchasing the 30 years of WrestleMania. I do have the WWE Encyclopedia already. Love it, and
thank you.
And
it's been enjoyable.
30 years.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for having me on, and Austin, thank you for setting this up. You guys have been great to talk to. The questions have been great. Your callers were awesome. I'd be more than happy to come back on anytime you guys would like. This has really been a great time. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And for one more time. Oh, yeah. So I was going to say one more time for people who might not have heard it before. 30 years WrestleMania, 30 years of history, out next Monday. You can feast your eyes on what will absolutely be one of the best releases of any book that's been in over the past time. I believe in Brian Shields. He has the ultimate answer in making some of the best books you can read, especially the WWE Encyclopedia that he's made. There's no doubt in my mind this is going to be one of the best books you ever picked up in your life.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think of it, and and I hope we speak again soon.
Absolutely, we've got to have you back soon. Absolutely. With that, we want to thank you for calling, and we hope you enjoy your night, Brian.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Brian.
Thank you.
That was very enjoyable, and a lot of great topics discussed just in a matter of, I think we were on an hour with him, almost. And then with Little Egypt, my goodness, just what can I say? Chalk it up to another great show and mark it up in the books. And you know what? I think we're going to mark this down as one of maybe our top 15 for 2014. What do you think?
Definitely.
Sounds like a plan.
I said no pun intended. You just said in the books. And speaking of books, September 15th, next Monday, 30 years WrestleMania. I'm so excited about this, and Felix knows how excited I am about this. But any professional wrestling fan, any fan of the WWE who has witnessed a WrestleMania knows the excitement that's in my heart for this book, because there's something magical at WrestleMania that no other event can put on, and I mean that. And there's no other event that can get these people excited in a way that it conveys a different emotion from all other sports in ever.
No, I don't think so. I mean, WrestleMania, it took on a whole life of its own, and as I mentioned before on previous shows, if you have not been to one, you need to go to one. You need to be inside the stadiums, wherever they're at, whatever year you go, and just get in the middle of it, and you feel the electricity of the excitement and people, the spectacle. It really is something unlike anything you'll ever experience ever. And I'm not saying that just because I've been to 6, but because it really is. I mean, if it wasn't like that, I don't think I could go to all 6. And I don't think Austin would have chalked up the money to go to WrestleMania 30 this year in Louisiana and see what it was like for him. I'm so and no offense, Austin, I'm just so glad I didn't go. I would have been so miserable towards the end. I would have been like, you know what, I want to go home.
Well, I think WrestleMania 30, I don't know if, Nate, have you actually been to a WrestleMania?
Never been to a WrestleMania. Been to a Starrcade, but not a WrestleMania. It's on the bucket list.
Definitely worthwhile when you get the chance, man.
There's something different about it.
I'm waiting. I'm thinking about this year, though. Next year, because that may be the debut and the finale of that man called Sting in the WWF ring, the WWE ring.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also the possibility of maybe, knock on wood, I'm knocking right now, of the induction of the Macho Man Randy Savage into the Hall of Fame. I'm keeping my fingers and my toes crossed, and I'll cross my eyes if I have to. But, I want to see it happen. All arrows point to the possibility that it could. And whether they put him in as a powerful family or him by himself, it needs to happen. And I think it will. And I'm keeping my hope alive for that. But
and when you say possibilities, you know what you're talking about. You haven't mentioned it yet, but there's actually a 3-disc set that's actually be released. I'm not even kidding about this. Towards the beginning of December, maybe the end of November, one of the two of the new Macho Man Randy Savage definitive collection set. It's something to that effect. But anyway, there's going to be a special edition that they're going to be releasing that it comes with the signature Macho Man glasses and T-shirt that's going to have a Macho Man logo on it. So that's really exciting. I showed Felix that. I'm not sure if you got a chance to see it, Nate, but I'm definitely going to get my hands on it when the first chance I get.
Yeah, I'll check it out when it comes out. But that just goes to what Felix is saying right there. I mean, if you're making money off this guy, you know this is the man for the Macho Man. Go ahead and put him in the Hall of Fame because he deserves it.
Nate, I just want to mention to you, I'm not sure if you're aware, you may not be, but your connection is kind of really bad. I don't know if it might be,
happened.
I mean, you what now?
I know what happened. I'm not serious. I'm serious about this. I actually had a conversation, speaking about this, and I was talking to Nate about it before he came on the show. A conversation with the legendary R2-D2 from Star Wars. I believe he just hacked the show. What just happened? I mean, it sounded like Nate, something went really robotic with your voice for a second. I'm not even kidding. You're going to have to listen back to the show, but I believe R2-D2 just tried to send us a message via this radio program.
You didn't just say that.
Wow.
R2-D2 is a fan of it.
You know what? You sound better now. I can hear you much better.
All right. Yeah, I guess that was the powers that be at the WWE trying to shut me down, man.
There's always
anything's possible, man. But any final thoughts tonight's show, guys, before we talk about our next week's guest?
Real quick, I just thought it was a great show. Again, I can check talking to a Glow Girl off of my bucket list now. That was a cool conversation with Little Egypt. And, Brian, I definitely want to say, if you're an old school fan, you definitely should be interested in the book. But if you're a new fan, get the book anyway because you need to know about the history of this thing that we call WrestleMania. And so 2 great guests and a really good show tonight.
And I gotta say this, I'm sorry for exclaiming so much when I'm so passionate about something like WrestleMania, and we actually been to one, and you experience it. It's ingrained in your soul till death, and then some. especially after see the Undertaker walk out. I mean, that's a story in itself. I know Felix has seen time and time again. Hopefully we can see it happen at WrestleMania 31, when hopefully we see, like Nate said earlier, Sting and Taker face off in that ring. It's something that has to happen, I think, and that's the definition of a WrestleMania moment.
You know, and above anything else, I have to make it clear, I want the match, but I want him healthy. I want him healthy first. 110%, 150%. He needs to be healthy, because if he goes into another match like he did this year, no, then I'd rather him not even wrestle. And I hate saying that, but I would rather him be healthy than go in and try to put up, fight in not great condition and just be hurt. He's done so much. It's better now to take care of yourself. Don't get me wrong. I want it. If we don't do it at WrestleMania 31, it's bound to happen. I would prefer it be there, but like I said, health comes first for both. Can't stress that enough. After finding out what happened after this year's WrestleMania, that's not good. It's I don't know if it was planned, if it wasn't planned, whatever. But I'm just glad that he's okay now, and look forward to seeing what could happen in the future. And as far as next week's guests go, before I even talk about that, I have to throw out a big thanks to Little Egypt. She's been wonderful. She, like I mentioned, ever since I heard her on Steve Austin's show, I think it was last year. Might have been last year. Anyway, I knew I wanted to get her on the show, chat with her, because she's just such a great speaker. And the fact that she took part in the Cauliflower Alley, and I did a little research and found that out. I didn't know that right up front, because I was just going to touch on all the Glow topics. But the Cauliflower Alley, I thought that was a cool thing that she does. She speaks there quite a bit and always there now. So I look forward to the possibility of meeting her and some of the Glow girls in the future. With Brian, great topics of conversation, great input from Brian. I could tell he had fun with all the calls, from Matt, from Elio, from Frank. I think he really dug those questions. It just made it for more an enjoyable time for him. And above all, that's all that matters. As long as our guests having fun, we're having fun. I mean, we're having fun anyway. But I mean, he was having fun too. But
I forgot to mention when next time we have him on, hopefully in the future. The question, and I didn't want to ask it to, I don't know what he was thinking about it, but I wanted to basically say, how crazy were you the entire time writing the WWE Encyclopedia? Because I would have went crazy if I could define who over 500 superstars were in the WWE, even more than 500. I would have went crazy. I would probably just kick out really early.
But as far as next week's guests go, by the way, thanks to both of our guests for tonight. Next week's guest was just confirmed a few days ago. Austin knows about it. It will be none other than wrestling legend. The Legends Month continues, mind you. Another wrestling legend. He is the grappler, Len Denton. He will be coming on to the show to talk about his career in professional wrestling, and I look forward to it. There was a lot of topic of discussion between Austin and myself that, he wanted to bring up, and maybe we can bring up during that time. But I've heard him on Roddy Piper's podcast. I heard him on the IHWE show they did a few weeks ago, and it's definitely going to be an enjoyable show, and I think it's going to be fun for not only me, but for the other hosts as well. What do you guys think?
Memoirs of a Masked Man, #1 bestseller on Amazon.com. It's something that's a testimonial on how popular it is with people.
There you go. You ready to talk to the grappler, Nate?
I'm looking forward to it, man. Just anytime. Again, this is why Legends Month is so cool, because there are people that you watched or you read about in the PWI magazines, and now we're getting a chance to talk to them and bring their stories out to you guys listening. And I'm really looking forward to talking to Lynn next week.
Awesome. and we'll kill about maybe 5 or 6 minutes or so and get your guys' thoughts on Monday Night Raw last night. Well, those of you who follow me on Facebook knew I wasn't really a big fan of a particular segment, but for the most part, for the rest of the show,
Jerry.
You know what? That was a part of the late 1990s when that was like he was a god back then. Now it was pointless to me. It didn't fit. I didn't care for it. It bored me. It was a mess. That's just my opinion.
Come on.
To me, honestly, this Bella Twin rivalry, I want to see it go somewhere because right now it's flopping around like a fish on the land. I don't know where the hell it's going to go. You know,
I don't know what you're talking about.
I like the matches and so forth. The Roman Reigns and Randy Orton match was awesome. You know, the rest of the show was good. There was a lot of good stuff. I think that it's hilarious because the way they're working it out, it gives me the impression as far as Adam Rose and is now the Attack Bunny, it gives me the impression it's going to be Darren Young.
Ooh,
because it seems to go after Titus's partner, you know, and it just seems right because he's been out for a while now, so who else could it be? If I'm wrong, hey, you know what? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was going to say he super kicked him on Monday night. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, you know, anything's open for suggestions. With a place like WWE, anything can happen, right? And the Heartbreak Bunny, I guess. I mean,
the Heartbreak Bunny.
Maybe that'll work for Easter time for the kids and everything, but maybe that's a suggestion. I know he delivered a swift kick earlier tonight on the main event. I was thinking, I don't know, maybe it's CM Punk. I mean, there's so many suggestions I can go with them.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen for Punk anytime soon.
No,
what about you, Nate? What you think, man?
I got to tell you, my favorite part of Raw, and I know this guy gets a lot of hate from the internet wrestling community, was the segment with Cena and Heyman, and I think both guys cut fantastic promos, and that was maybe the best John Cena promo we've heard in a long time. I really enjoyed that segment.
You know, and I can't deny that. I mean, they're both spot on. Nowadays, managers don't get. They're a dying breed. I mean, let's be honest. They're really the only one that's had any relevancy over the last several years would be Paul Heyman, because he really knows how to go out there. He's the kind of guy that doesn't need notes, doesn't need writers, because he's old school and he calls it from his gut, from his heart, what he feels, and he'll deliver it. And he'll deliver it spot on every time. You know, one could even go back and say that Paul Bearer, back when he made his return in 2010, did the same thing. They didn't need people to write for them. They knew what they had to say.
Yeah.
You know, it's a rare thing to see nowadays. Writers are everywhere. To hell with them. But there are some that can just speak from the heart, speak from the gut, and just deliver spot on. Nowadays, not as much. Some people like Heyman and Paul and even Undertaker, or even Sting, you know, whoever from that old school generation, I believe, can do that. Nowadays, I don't see it happening as much.
Well, I mean, you know, John Cena, the reason why people gravitate towards him so much as being the constant performer that he is when he talks, that's John Cena. You know, he's not putting on any like, you know, mask. That's John Cena. You're always talking and looking at John Cena. That's why people, whether they like him or hate him, or you know, they don't like him. He's always in a mixed reaction, no matter where he's at. There's always the boos and the cheers, but the common fact is that people respect him for the most part for what he does for everybody else, you know, outside of wrestling. And in the wrestling ring, when he's paired up against the right people, he puts on some of the best matches you can watch. You know, and I would never doubt that at all.
You know, I can put Cena up there as one of the guys who can cut promos pretty well. I mean, he puts a lot of emotion into his promos, and you can feel it. And you know what? People bash him. People hate on him. People are tired of him. People want to say, "Turn heel already! Turn heel or hit the bricks, Junior." You know, it's not going to happen, guys. Come on. This guy is a cash cow for WWE. All of his commitments to the children, it's just not going to happen. Get over it. Move on.
Make it happen, Ryan.
You know, and if it was going to happen, it would have already happened.
It did.
It's like the Attitude Era. Cena's not going to turn heel. Attitude Era's not coming back. Go cry yourself a river because it just ain't happening.
It happened already. I'm telling you, I said it twice. When John Cena was modeling his new shoe line, he turned his heel, and that's when the matches happened. I can show you numerous pictures of it.
You are such a sarcastic little. You know what?
I'm the person that lays out the facts because that's what Bo Dallas wants. All right.
Oh, not this again. You know what? I love Blackjack Mulligan. He is without a doubt one of my favorite guests. But my God, I hate this Bo-Leave crap. I'm a fan of the actual wrestler, but not the gimmick. Sorry, just not.
Come on. You know what?
I don't believe, and I don't know why you believe.
The reason why I believe is because Bo Dallas just has a nice, convincing smile that makes me want to admire him. That's just, one of the greatest people this world has to offer.
You know what I do like, though, and I do believe in, is Sami Zayn on Raw.
That was crazy. I love that.
I like it very much. Tyson Kidd on Raw. Adrian Neville. Very, very entertaining.
Mm-hmm. You see, that's why.
And let's not forget Tyler Breeze. I don't want people to think that I forgot about him. I didn't forget him. He's so pretty. He ain't Muhammad Ali. What am I talking about?
He is.
That sounds like Johnny B. Bad.
Oh, Lord, I remember that, too. Jeez.
I didn't want to mention this, but, you were talking about Jerry Springer. I actually felt really bad for Jerry Springer in that segment because he was sandwiched between the Bella twins. I know Jerry Law didn't feel bad for him, but, I'm sure he wants to switch places every time. But, regardless, Jerry fractured a few of his ribs. That's a serious thing, and he was still in good spirits. Thumbs up. Jerry Springer's just the person to look up to, especially after what happened in the ring on Monday
Jerry
night.
broke his ribs just like Triple H broke his arm. Come on now.
It happened, man. Let me tell you. Those girls are fierce. They're total divas, which is back on the E! Network. I'm sure Nate watches that.
Not to mention Triple H's wife fell on her. Stephanie fell on him, too. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was meant for entertainment. Some liked it, some didn't. Personally, like I said on my Facebook page, 1998 called. They want their host back and their story. So I'm good.
Come on.
Yeah, no
offense to Jerry. You know what? Jerry was good for what he did, what he brought to the table, but his relevancy now on television is almost non-existent. Nobody really understood his popularity because they didn't get to live through it and see just how much of a freaking icon he was. And I'm not going to deny it. He really was, because he trashed TV, people fighting everywhere, throwing chairs, throwing things, naked people walking, ridiculous shows. Nate, you can attest to this. I know you had to watch a few Springers back in the day, but it was a mess back then, and that's what people loved, because that was the era. And Austin, I know you were young, but I know you know a little bit about that era too, so I'll give you that credit as well, because you were a young kid, but you've heard and read and seen and watched. But, yeah, that was a mess back then, and that's what was popular back then. Now, people are too damn sensitive. Oh, my God, did you see that? I can't believe that. We got to sue them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I too sensitive today. They don't understand that it's just a story. Well, I'm done rambling about that. You don't get my point, so...
Jerry changed the game back in the day, like that Crash TV, that reality TV style, and I'm sure people like Russo and Ferrara, they took cues from that and brought it into the Attitude Era. And Jerry was great, but I don't need to see Jerry back on Raw, and I certainly don't need to see JJ Bella on my TV screen ever again.
No, he was looking. He's a good strapping young man, like the kids say these days, and Jerry Springer.
If you really believe that, then maybe they should adopt you and call you Austin Bella.
Hey, I would do it any day just to be by Nikki and Brie.
He'd love that. He'd love that.
But what I'm saying
sure
is that
would.
Jerry Springer is the only person that could make this thing better, and I think he did. I think they're talking about it, but I think they're trying to get better. I honestly think they're going to be hugging next week on Raw in the Cajun Dome in Lafayette. I'm actually going to be attending that show, and hopefully they're They're going to be hugging it out like, the old times of Daniel Bryan and Kane. Oh, no, speaking of that, I have to mention this. What if we see Dr. Shelby? I'm thinking the only person that's going to be, besides Jerry Springer, obviously, Dr. Shelby returning to help the Bellas out. I would think he's the ultimate counselor. But
I hope they team up and slap the hell out of him.
I would cry. I love him. I love Dr. Shelby.
Well, I guess you'll just have to tune in to Monday night and find out what kind of crazy shenanigans they're going to get these girls back into now. Apparently Stephanie's not completely out of the picture yet either, so we'll see where it goes. I mean, Night of Champions is right around the corner. Got some great matches coming up. And next Tuesday night, we will actually give our predictions on the pay-per-view itself. And to see if we actually, I would say place any bets, but, we haven't been on wrestling in quite a while, so I don't know if we're going to start again. But well, we'll give our predictions next week. As far as who is going to win the match, will Cena actually leave with the title? Will Mark Henry actually beat Rusev? Will Rusev actually ever be beaten?
Maybe.
But and then of course a great conversation with Len Denton, the grappler, next week. Nate, do you have some things you want to plug?
Yeah, I do. We've got the Kings of Sport. It's my podcast with myself and Marcus Vanderberg from Yahoo Sports. It comes out every Thursday, and we talk about sports. We talk about pop culture, pro wrestling. You can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/The Kings of Sport, and you can check us out on Twitter at KOS_POD, CosPod on Twitter.
Nice. Austin, go ahead and throw out our plugs for the show.
We're actually on Twitter at Pipebomb__radio, 2 underscores between Pipebomb and radio. You can also follow us on Instagram, which is Pipebomb__radio, or it might just be Pipebomb Radio. One of the two, I'm sure you can find it.
It's just Pipebomb Radio. Just look up Pipebomb Radio, you'll find us.
And you can like us on Facebook and look at us on Twitter and check out the website pipebombradio.weebly.com and check out all of our past episodes with Bruno Sammartino, Tito Santana, Blackjack Mulligan, and so many others. Because I was actually having a conversation, it was probably a couple weeks ago, with a group of aliens. I'm not kidding about this, and I've said this numerous amount of times on the show, but I mean, there are people in space listening to Pipebomb Radio, and I have on good authority that they like what they're listening to. Seriously. I mean, R2D2 just hacked Nate's phone earlier tonight, so it was pretty cool for him to be on the show, so we might have to put his picture up on the promo pictures for the poster.
Wow.
And on that note, make sure you guys check out the Pipebomb Radio YouTube channel as well, so you can keep up with everything that we put, because everything that goes on our website goes directly to YouTube as well. But on behalf of Nate and Austin for tonight's Pipebomb Radio show, this is Felix.
Hey, Felix.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, I know we got distracted with talk of aliens, but I don't know if a lot of the listeners out there know about Sean O'Hare, and I just thought, maybe we should send him.
Oh, yes, please, go ahead.
Sean O'Hare, a former WWE and WCW wrestler. He was a member of the Natural Born Thrillers in WCW, and he was had a good thing going with Roddy Piper in the WWE. He passed away at his home in South Carolina, and he was only 43 years old. So it's a shame, and it's it's really sad. And we want to send our condolences to his family and his friends, and rest in peace, because he was a guy that had so much talent, man, so much talent.
He did. That's a good point. Thank you for reminding Nate. Yes, all of us here at Pipebomb Radio send condolences to the family of Mr. O'Hare, and what an entertainer. Unbelievable talent. Wish he could have been used more, but rest in peace, sir. And on that note, on behalf of us all here at Pipebomb Radio, this is Felix closing out with Nate and Austin, saying keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Good night, everybody. Good night, Austin. Good night, Nate.
Good night, guys.
Good night, guys.